All right, welcome to a little bit of a online lecture about concordances and online tools to use for Bible study. We are going to do this with the idea that we are aiming at doing an exercise on a word search in Amos 5:24 on the word mishpat. But I want to, before I do that, I just want to introduce a couple of different things that you could use online. Obviously, before you go online, there are some really good resources that you can use in terms of a paper concordance, big, thick books that are being done away with by means of Bible software, some online tools, but certainly a concordance, if you have one, is still a very useful tool. What I'm going to focus on are some online tools. Two websites that I think are particularly helpful for doing some Bible study. The first one we're on right now, which is netbible.org, and there's a couple reasons why this is one that I want to focus on. What we're looking for is we're trying to get access to original language without necessarily knowing our Greek or Hebrew, okay? Which is a horrible thing for me to say, but that's the way it's going. So using a tool like this is going to be helpful. Take Greek and Hebrew. I encourage you. But if you don't have Greek and Hebrew, here's a couple of things that you can do. For one, excuse me, NetBible, this website, gives you access to not only this translation, the Net Bible, but you can also go over here to a site. You can get notes on this side, but you could click on Greek and Hebrew, and now that we're in the Gospel of Matthew, you can see as I float over a word like David, you can see it show up and be highlighted. If I want to go to Solomon, you can see Solomon, and so. And if I'm on the Greek side, I can see, oh, what's that word? And I can see what it is in English. I want to do one little thing. I'm going to go over to the book of Hebrews. And so we're going to click on Hebrews. Show you how this might work we're going to go to Hebrews 1, for looking up a word in Greek in the book of Hebrews. So I want to look up the word heir. So let's say I'm looking at 1:4. Thus he became so far better than the angels as he has inherited a name superior to them. So this idea, he has inherited. I want to look up this word, the idea of being an heir or being inheriting. So you can see that this shows up to the word kekleronomeka, right over here. Kekleronomeken, sorry. And what I can do is I can double click on this word, and I can get some information about how to pronounce it. Kleronomeo is the pronunciation of the lexical form of this verb, the various forms that it shows up, how it's translated, etc., etc. So you can do this, you can see, so this gives you access to Greek if you do not already know it. So I can go back over here to my Bible and the translation, and I can do it this way. Now, if I want to, so that's one website. You can do this in Greek, you can do this in Hebrew. There's a lot of ways that you can go about doing this. If you just want to see another Bible, you can see, you can compare it to the New American Standard. But anyway, that's a good use of this. Another resource that I want to point you to is the resource called Bible Hub. And Bible Hub is good, and one of the reasons why it's good is because it's going to be able to search for terms in the original language without you knowing what the term is in the original language. So, for example, let's go to our passage that we want to look at in Amos. We're going to be looking at Amos 5:21 through 24. So if I go to Amos 1, I don't want to do Amos 1, I want to do Amos 5. So let's go to Amos 5, and we're going to look at Amos 5 and let's just look at verse 24. And the word that we're looking at, what we want to look at, is this term justice. Let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream, according to the New International Version. Now, I want to see it in as close to the original language as I can, so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click on interlinear, okay? And that's going to give me not only an English translation, but it's also going to give me the Hebrew. It's also going to give me a transliterated Hebrew that will give me a pronunciation of the Hebrew. So I want to go over here and I want to see this word judgment. And what we're looking at here is the word mishpat, okay, in Hebrew, mishpat. Now, I want to see where else mishpat occurs. And in your assignment, you're going to look at where mishpat occurs, this word that's translated either judgment or justice, where it occurs in both in Hosea, in Amos, and in Micah. And you're going to figure out the semantic range of this term, and you're going to write up what you think this should be translated as in Amos 5:24. So I'm going to double click on mishpat. You see it right there. Or I'm going to click on it. And that's going to give me 133 occurrences in a concordance. Now, I'm not interested in what happens in Genesis, so I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to scroll down until I get to the books that I'm looking at here, which are Amos, Hosea, and Micah. And I'm scrolling, and I'm scrolling, and I'm scrolling, and I'm getting there. And I'm getting closer. Here it comes. And here we are. Let's get in here too. Here we go. So here we are. We're now in Hosea. And you can see every time mishpat occurs, it shows up in red, and it shows how it's translated in the New American Standard, the King James, and this other INT translation. So you can look at where it occurs. Hosea 5:11, Amos 5:15, Amos 5:24, and there's ours. So you see New American Standard translates it one way, King James translates it another way, but you can see this gives you access, and here's Micah. So you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 occurrences of mishpat in these 3 books, but this is what I want you to do some work on this. But this website will give you some access to doing searches on original language terms without necessarily knowing original language. Now, if you have there's another way to do this, and that is through Bible software. And I'm going to show you using the Bible software that I have. This is Accordance. There should be, if Fuller is giving a deal on Bible Works, if you want to buy that, I have that as well. I'm going to show you on Accordance how this works. So on my Accordance, I have a tagged text, the New American Standard, and it's tagged to show up from the Hebrew to the English translation. So if I want to see, I'm going to go down here to 525, and I want to see, 524. I want justice to roll down. I can see justice here is also mishpat over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on mishpat. And then I'm going to come over here to search. I'm going to click on search. I want to search for this term mishpat. And what's going to happen is it's going to give me in Hebrew all the occurrences of mishpat. Now, this is small. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Now, if I want to read that, if I want to see what that looks like, I can go up here. I can add a text, and I can go down here. I'm going to add the New American Standard 95, which is tagged, so that'll give me access to, as I hover over a term here, it is going to show up over on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go down to my Amos passage. Here's Hosea, and you can see where mishpat is showing up here. Here in Hosea 5:1 and 5:11, and you can see the different places where it shows up. And then by the time we get down here to Amos, here we are in 5:24. Let justice, mishpat. So you can see how this works in the New American Standard. So these are some ways that you can access the original language without necessarily knowing the original language. And so I hope this was helpful, from online resources to Bible software and your concordance as well. These should be enough resources for you to fulfill the assignment and to engage in further Bible study.